we didn't want it to be bad. we wanted it to be like it used to be. We wanted it to be like a Romus.
Blair Morrison.
Blair, what do you think?
Do you think that CrossFit was only growing back in the day because of Reebok?
Because of Reebok?
That's right.
No, I think it was growing because they were adding like 2,000 affiliates a year.
Because of Reebok, obviously.
That doesn't make any sense. I think shoes makes more sense than that.
I mean, Reebok was cool. I remember. I mean, that's when I was competing, so it was cool that Reebok was there, and it gave like the games a different level of legitimacy. And obviously the prize money was insane. It went from $5,000 to $250,000 in 2 years, and that was all because of Reebok. So definitely did.
I feel so bad for Graham Holmberg every time I think about that.
Poor guy.
Dude. I feel so bad.
But it definitely didn't hurt. Reebok was a big part of it, but I mean CrossFit was growing because CrossFit's great. You know, it was a great method, and everybody drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh no! What's your favorite nano?
My favorite nano? I mean, the popular answer is the Nano 2, right? That's the one that everybody says they love the most.
That's the wrong answer.
That's not my favorite one. My favorite nano actually was the 10, the Nano X.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Paid. He's paid agent here.
Yeah, I feel like the Nano.
For those.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish that up, and then we're going to move on to the NCC.
I was just saying,
reason we got here.
I used to go to those athlete retreats in the Bahamas that Reebok would have, and they would always produce the new Nano. And it was like odds and evens every year. They would switch it from like a running shoe to a lifting shoe, and they could never make up their mind about just like keeping it the same. Like why? Like I was thinking about car manufacturers. They don't do a new model of car every single year. You know, they get a body type that looks good, that functions good, and then they ride with it for like 4 or 5 years, and then they come out with something fresh. But for some reason, the shoe industry is like they're just trying to reinvent it every single time, and half the time, you know, it ain't good. So,
yeah. For those of you who do not know Blair Morrison, he's how many times were you at the games?
Yeah, 3 times. 9, 10, 11.
Yeah. And he is a co-director with Ben Alderman, also a games veteran, of the Northern California Classic, and that just wrapped up.
Fire breather for people that know the way back stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah.
How are you and Ben not tired of each other yet? Y'all been doing business together a long time.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for noticing. Yeah, I mean, we get along great, man. He's got 4 kids, I got 3 kids. Our wives get along great. We've done lots of different stuff over the years. So I think our similarities in our family and our business help that. But he's just a good guy to be around. He's hella strong, great athlete, but he's also he's so funny, man. So it's like, it makes it easier for us to get together and do stuff, I think, because we just enjoy each other's company.
John, you hear that? There's hope for us, buddy.
So this year's Northern California Classic, sixth time. How did you guys, like, what started that, like 7 years ago, like the thought behind hosting something like this, and how you've grown it to what it is today?
Yeah, so it's a very, very easy answer. In 2018, they stopped doing regionals, right? You remember that? That's when Greg went away from the regional system, started doing sanctionals. And in California, we had already been kind of downsized from Northern California, Southern California to just a California Super Regional in San Diego. And so when they decided to take that away, it just felt like there was going to be a huge vacuum, you know. In order to go to a big competition, we were going to have to fly to like Minnesota for the Granite Games or to Florida for Wadapalooza. And we felt like somebody was going to do it. Somebody was going to just come up with a new big competition on the West Coast, and we didn't want it to be bad. we wanted it to be like it used to be. We wanted it to be like a Romus. We wanted it to be like the old NorCal regionals where it was outside. You guys remember watching those videos? Like NorCal was one of the only ones that had like dirt and heat, and it was always at a fairgrounds somewhere. And I just love that, man. I think that's CrossFit at its core. You know, you obviously have the unknown workouts, but then you have the unpredictability of the weather and, you know, just other elements. So when that opportunity came up, Ben and I were like, yo, we should do this. We should just and see, because we kicked the tires a little bit, and a lot of people thought it was a bad idea. I'm going to tell you right now. A lot of people thought that, you know, CrossFit was dying, like the attendance was going down, and, you know, in some respect they were right. But I think the overall appetite, especially in our region, is we got a lot of older CrossFitters, you know, people that have been doing it a long time, and they're still down to compete. So that's why we did it, and it's come a long way since then.
And I mean, it's grown over the years. You know, I think you've had great athletes last year in Lauren Fisher. I think she got second last year. You had Brittany Weiss. This year, obviously, the men's field was absolutely stacked. What do you attribute to kind of starting to kind of get more and more of those elite athletes making that trip out to NorCal for this event?
I mean, it's the prize money. That's what I think it is. You know, you gotta have.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I wanted you to say that, Blair, but that's that 100%.
Yeah, it's the prize money. So I think that you have the ability for an event like this. You have the ability to kind of brand your event to a certain degree, right? Like we have this, like I was saying, this kind of old school vibe. People are camping in tents, you know, like athlete tents in the village. It is a little dirty. That appeals to a lot of people. But at the end of the day, the top end athletes, they're choosing what to do with their time and their competitive energy based on how much money they can make. It's got to be worth it for them. And I think that once you, as an event, once you earn the athlete's trust, the elite athlete's trust that you are going to deliver on what you promise, and that the competition is going to be run in a legitimate way, then I think they will start coming back, not just for the money, but you have to earn it first. I don't think anybody's going to go to an event they don't know about just because they heard it was really fun, if they're at that level. And I get that. And so I think the first year we kind of took a flyer and we offered $10,000 for first prize our first year. And we only had 350 athletes come out. But luckily one of them was Justin Medeiros. before anybody knew who he was. And he absolutely mopped everybody. It was crazy. But China Cho came out that year, right? She came out and she won the women's field. And so we've just been building it up, and we know that that's kind of the key to getting those athletes. And this year was the best so far. You know, we left 5 spots open for the men and 5 for the women, and then we put it out to the community. Hey, who do you want to see? And then we got lots of people reaching out saying they wanted to come. And the men's field, like you said, ended up being stacked because a lot of them did come.
Yeah, and then this year you moved locations out to Granite Bay. How was that working with a different location, venue?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. The first year at a new venue is tough because there's theory and reality. You lay it out the way you think it's going to be most ideal, but there's always variables you can't foresee. Like, I mean, we caught a bad break, man. This weekend it was 100 degrees in September, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 100 degrees. And like right now in Sacramento, like 3 days later, it's 82. So that exposed how little shade there is down by the water. So that's something we got to account for next year. Like, we got to have way more shade for spectators if they're going to hang out down on the lakeside stage. We brought shade sails for the trailside stage, which was our main stage, and they just weren't nearly big enough. So there's still huge sections of the floor that was exposed and getting super hot. So people are handstand walking, burning their hands, and that's stuff that you kind of you learn by doing at the new venue. And it's overall it was great. It was definitely a good move. It's way bigger, so it gives us a chance to grow even more. And I think the way the vendors are set up was really positive. A lot of vendors said they did really well. But yeah, you can't predict everything, and I think you just got to be willing to take a few punches and then get better the next time.
Yeah. A lot was made of the swim, right? I reported that you guys were, had a whole bunch of things in place, but CrossFit had kind of notified everybody that if you're a CrossFit licensed or certified event that you couldn't do it. What was that dialogue with you and Ben to decide, hey, we're going to not do that. We're going to continue with the swim. We have all these safety measures in place, a month after the games.
It was, gosh, how do I want to say this? It wasn't that difficult to still want to do the swim, because we knew we could do it safely because we felt good about the plan we had, but it's a sensitive time, and the last thing we wanted to do was to appear that we didn't care or we didn't have the athlete's interest in mind. And we were getting, as you can imagine, we were getting plenty of contributions, plenty of feedback on social media and emails. People were emailing me directly, giving me their 2 cents, which was all good. So we decided that if we could get an endorsement from the athletes, right, and the best representative we could find for the athletes at this time was the PFAA. If we could get an endorsement from them, we thought that we would come out of it feeling like we covered our bases, right? So we talked to the safety personnel that we had. We reached out to people that ran safety teams for the Ironman triathlons. We reached out to people that ran safety for paddleboard races, and then we reached out to the PFAA and talked to their safety director. So I felt like our plan was awesome. It was probably more than we needed. Like, if you saw some of the pictures, it was like there were more paddlers than there were swimmers.
Right.
So, but I think given the time and space that we're in right now and how close it was to what happened at the games, I think it was a better way to go, to be a little bit over prepared. And just, I honestly, man, I said this before to somebody. A lot of people were saying that, hey, the community needs time to heal, and this is so traumatic, and why not just not do swimming for a little while? And to me, I felt like it was the opposite. I felt like the community needed to see a swim go well, and that's what we decided to do. We decided to commit to that, and we took all the steps we thought we should be taking, and it went well, thankfully.
Did you, when you did ask for the PFA to review everything, I mean, did they provide any input that you needed to, that they thought maybe you fell short, or was it they were pretty happy with what you had in place?
They needed 3-to-1 paddleboard per swimmer.
Sorry, hang on a second.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so the PFAA was great. We talked to Josh, their head safety guy. He said that it was, and I don't want to speak for him, but I'm paraphrasing, he said it was one of the best plans he's seen on a first take. So he's given us some credit for that. He thought we actually probably didn't need as many paddleboarders as we had, which, seeing it in person, he was right. We could have done with, instead of having 20 paddle boarders in the water for 20. As swimmers, we probably could have done 10 to 12, and we would have been fine, and just given them more breaks.
Mhm.
They could have rotated out more and gotten out of the sun more. He made a point about having brightly colored swim caps, which we added to our safety protocol, which was good. And he was great. He was super open. He's got a ton of experience. He's been safety head for Wadapalooza before. He's been at the games for a bunch of years in the past. So it was really nice to talk to him and kind of make sure we had all the boxes checked.
As for the competition, there was a floater workout, which, I mean, I think that goes back to all of the old throwdowns back in the day of the Shaolin Bucket. That ended up not being a scored event. Can you kind of share what happened with that?
Yeah, so the Shaolin Bucket hold was basically, you have these two buckets, right? And there's 15 pounds in them for the men and there's 10 pounds in them for the women. And the idea was, from a seated position, you're going to hold these buckets out to the side for as long as you can. Just hold them up as long as you can. Just last man standing wins kind of thing. And it was really fun. It was a really fun event, you guys. It sounds kind of silly, but if you were there, like, people were selling out for it. All the spectators, that was probably the loudest spectator event of the weekend. People were just screaming at their friends not to let them fall. So on that front, it was like enjoyable and fun to do. It just, the standards weren't executed well enough throughout the weekend. So you had one group of judges allowing people to be at eye level with their hands. The next was like a little bit higher than that. So now you're looking kind of more like a Y shape instead of a T shape. Then
that was Taylor.
So then you had some judges that were calling people before they hit the ground, and it was like, but when they broke parallel, then they called it. So yeah, it was on us. We didn't do a tight enough job of making sure the standards were the same for everyone. So we didn't feel it was fair to award 100 points to somebody, and then, when the standards were so varied. So what we did is we just made it like a pass fail. So everybody that did it, that showed up and that basically had the tax on their body, got 50 points, and anybody that didn't show up for the floater and didn't have that tax on their body got 0. And then we gave away barbells to the male and female who had the best. So I mean, I was bummed about it because I thought it was a cool event, and I could see that the athletes enjoyed it. It was harder than they thought, but it just didn't feel right to have that weighted as much as like the trail run or the max snatch, when it just wasn't the same for everybody.
Yeah. And then NorCal Sioux, I don't know, that might be the first time Cal Sioux's ever been programmed in some type of form or fashion in a competition.
I don't know.
As far as I'm aware, I don't know another one where it is.
Such a cool workout.
Were you expecting
So
only Colton to finish? Like, did you think anybody else might finish that?
Dude, so we went back and forth on this. Originally, we had it as a 12-minute time cap, and that way we thought. And then like the way the day shook out, we just didn't have enough time to fit that many heats through with a 12-minute cap on that day and still have time for podiums. So we trimmed it to 10. We changed the buy-in so that it was 3-3-3, 2-2-2, 1-1-1-1-1. So it give athletes kind of more time when they're tired. And honestly, I thought people were going to be able to finish going into the day until I watched the first heat. And I was like, oh, man. I was like, these guys.
Hey, even a 12-minute cap would have only been like two or three people.
I'm like, these guys aren't even close. Like, we were watching the early heats when they're doing like toes to rings and thrusters and it's light. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a bloodbath. But then we watched the elites get going, and we saw one woman, I think Elizabeth, got to 91. I was like, man, Colton probably going to get this because that guy he's just an absolute machine when it comes to squatting, right? Mm-hmm. And sure enough, he comes across. Did you guys see the video of it?
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw Hiller's video.
He drops across the line, signs his card. Everybody else is on the ground, just a.
If it's a home run for him, he makes it look bad. He makes it look like it's nothing.
Yeah, and he was good at that. He kept it all in, and I mean that was impressive. That was a cool way to finish, and I mean he needed that to win, which was cool. he needed to have a good performance there. So I'll say this: I'm happy that he finished that way. It didn't seem like a
Somebody finished.
completely overdone.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool that both the men and the women came down to the final event, and the one that won, so Liz Wishart on the women's side and Colton on the men's, both won that event.
It came from behind in that event.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Any chance you'll ever get a live stream for it?
Yes. So I actually talked to some, like the guys that live stream the games and semifinals, and we did it. We talked about it. It was too late to do it for this year, but we talked about to them what it would take. How much money is it going to take? How many people is it going to take? And you guys, it is so expensive to do live streams. Like, it is so expensive. I could do the live stream and not pay any of the athletes. You know, we could like take the budget and just like redistribute it, just to give you an idea of how much it costs to do it right. But yes, the answer is yes. We want to, as we get more of the high end athletes, there's obviously more demand. There's going to be more eyeballs that want to see them. And that's an opportunity for us to get sponsors to come in and help fund the live stream, because there's a lot of advertising opportunity on a stream, right? So that's our plan, and we got a whole year to try to work it out and to pull it off, and we're gonna try.
Awesome. Well, Blair, I'll tell you, for about a third of the price, we'll get the whole Sevon team and do it very 2008 CrossFit Games style. And the Spin will cover it, or we'll cover it, and they'll be out there filming. It's just going to be very, not very professional, is all I'll say.
I mean, I tried to get Sevon to do it. We talked about it, but it just didn't happen.
Well, it sounds like with the heat, everybody's phones would have been overheated to do that, so probably wouldn't have worked out.
I think we do have enough experience in the group; we could figure it out now. All of us
I'm open to it.
Well, yeah, Blair, I really appreciate you taking time while your son's doing play some baseball. I'll leave you with this one last comment from Miss Medeiros herself. Always a great, well-run, fun event. And yeah, from watching as much as I could on the Souza and Savon doing some live streaming, and then Hiller recapping the final event, it looked like it was awesome out there. So
I see Miss Medeiros all the time. She's always chiming in. She's always commenting and following our stuff. So I appreciate her.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll let you get back to it, and good luck getting ready for next year's NorCal Classic.
All right, thanks guys. Keep up the good work.
Thanks,
appreciate it.